take skills from your past self and put them to your new self as an entrepreneur. Sometimes just doing the thing is what can get you indoors. Anyone that's like, oh, I want to work in this industry, I'm like, just make content about that industry. Don't think that there is one way to get to where you want to go as a content creator. If I now could talk to me then, I'd be like, hey girl, just know you're worth a bit more. Brands are pitching you, you're not pitching the brands, which also is a huge time saver. That's an antidote to this very masculine way of looking at being a business owner of like, it's about the hustle and the grind and being up till 3 a.m. every day and don't sleep and have shitty health. I want to relax. Like, I want to go to Pilates.
Welcome to Coffee and Oysters, the London Business Babe podcast, where we get you together with business tips to work and let you know where it's worth at Oyster Card. My name is Frances Dara Matthews. I am your host and certified Notion consultant and founder of the Notion Bar, where I get my clients together with personalized productivity systems built in Notion. There is no need to suffer with Notion alone. Every month I host the Big Notion Energy Academy, where we go through all the latest Notion updates and let you ask me, a Notion expert, all of your burning questions. Details in the show notes. This week I am prepping to go away for a couple of weeks to America, which is exciting. I'm doing a lot work-wise. I'm trying to get in as many pitches as I can. I had one successful pitch earlier today and later this evening, so that's crazy, but it's all good things. What's been kind of a blessing for me at the moment is my inquiry form. If you go to my website, thenotionbar.com, feel free to go look through what I've done and replicate for yourself as a service-based business. It's working like magic recently, so that's very exciting. In terms of things that I'm doing London-wise, I haven't done a lot because I've just kind of been inside and trying to prep for this trip, but I am really excited to go get my brows done. The go-to Brows and Lashes by Dessa, she's like the only person I trust in my brows. So I'm about to go do that before my trip because gotta have the brows fresh for the pictures. If you know, you know. But yeah, that's kind of what is going on in my life at the moment, really. Enough about me before we dive into this week's incredible guest. If you are subscribed to the Substack, details in the show notes, every couple of weeks you will get a Manifest Mondays email where you can shout out your wildest dreams. I like to always say you never know who's listening. No new shout outs this week, but I really encourage you to sign up to the Substack so I can hear from you, whether you're listening along in Substack, Spotify, Apple Music. Drop a comment, let me know what you're thinking. Keep those 5-star ratings coming. You can find all of the details in the show notes, where you can also find a link to the Coffee and Oysters guide, which contains all of our guest recommendations, so you don't have to go looking for them after. Now grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage and get into today's show. Today's guest is Candace Salters, who is a digital marketer, blogger, and content creator behind Candace Abroad, one of London's top travel sites, alongside her social media platforms on Instagram and TikTok. Candace is on a mission to share the best London and travel tips to over 300,000 UK and US audience members across platforms through fun, informative, and relatable content. She's been a full-time content creator since 2022, with over 100 brand campaigns under her belt, including Disney, Pinterest, the Mayor of London, Transport for London, Boots, and MasterCard, as well as features on the BBC, USA Today, Pop Sugar, The Independent, and Recipe TV. All that amongst some super exciting news that we'll be announcing today. Welcome to the show, Candace. How's it going?
Thank you for having me. The London weather is good, so I'm good. They're usually highly correlated.
No, I know what you mean. I have a love-hate relationship with this weather at the moment. I sound a little bit crazy because seasonal allergies are kicking my behind. So on one hand, it's so nice outside, but on the other hand, I'm just going to stay inside and enjoy it from in here.
Like, I'll just get the sun. I feel that too with productivity, because when it's nice outside, it's so hard to be productive. When you're someone that works a lot and the weather's not great a lot, that's a really good combo. So yeah, love, hate a little bit when it comes to productivity, but otherwise love.
Amazing. So context for people listening to this, Candace and I are actually like friends.
Just like little disclaimer.
This is a really cool opportunity because we have so many in-depth conversation, so it's probably going to be hard to condense everything into an hour, but we'll try our best.
You will.
You've had such an interesting journey. For people who are potentially new to you, give us a short roundup of how you ended up getting into what you do now, Candace Abroad. So you've been in the UK for a while, correct?
I think it has to all start with my accent. I am not from the UK. I am from the US, from Florida. I moved to England at 18 for university, did my bachelor's, did my MBA, was working for London startups, very much in the marketing, influencer marketing, so closely related to what I do now, which is really interesting. You take skills from your past self and put them to your new self as an entrepreneur. I have always wanted to be my own business owner. I was that kid with the lemonade stand at 5 years old, counting my dollars or pounds in a UK context. While I was in uni, I always knew that I wanted to have my own business. Always being interested in broadcasting, film, photography, and writing. Writing was my number one, making poems when I was 8, and just all of those things combined. And I think content creation is really beautiful in that because it's a way to combine all of your skills, all of those skills in one. When I was doing my MBA, I had started my blog, Candace Abroad. I had actually started it when I was in uni, but sometimes I feel like you can't even count a hobby blog as starting because that is content that no one needs to see now. Is horrendous. But actually kind of starting it from a professional, like I want to have a professional travel blog. I want to share information about London and the UK. That was, yeah, when I was getting my MBA. By the time I graduated, it had actually helped me get a few jobs in startups in London, which I think is a big hack. Sometimes people think you need to do the thing so it becomes your full-time thing. Sometimes just doing the thing is what can get you indoors to more traditional jobs. I think that's a huge tip I give to anyone that's like, oh, I want to work in this industry. I'm like, just make content about that industry. And then you're like light years away of any other applicant. So basically, every job I was getting from that point on was from me showing them my blog and that I knew how to write blog posts. I knew SEO. I started making social media content at that time too, really just showcasing the blog, like Notting Hill Guide, 10 things to do in Notting Hill. It's like, okay, I'll make a video about this too. And so it was really natural and organic the way that social media came into play. My goal from the beginning was to be a full-time travel blogger, not necessarily a social media content creator. But they kind of aligned, and I almost think that authenticity of like I wasn't necessarily trying to be the flowy dress kind of travel influencer that I think was kind of in that era. I was really in that post 2020 era of content creator that, it's just a bit more real, a bit more relatable, which is kind of an overused word, but just kind of showing a real travel experience or something that makes people think, oh, I can see what it's like from watching this video to do a day in Notting Hill versus, the average person isn't going and wearing 1,000-pound dress while strolling down the streets of Kensington. That's
Yeah.
not really how we're all exploring. So I think just seeing someone wearing normal clothes, like saying, do this, really resonated with people, especially because there weren't many content creators doing it at that time. I think that's definitely changed now. So yeah, that was going on, working in startups in London, doing my blog, social media is kind of going up. And then it got to the point, and mind you, in the back of my head, I'm huge into intention and manifestation. So I'd always known I want this to be my full-time job. But I was responsible ish and waited until I had matched my salary at the time. I was working for a startup in Shoreditch, and it's like, okay, when I make the same amount, I'll go. It was only a few months, and I was like, okay, I'll take that as a sign. And I quit my job, and it was the scariest thing. I thought I would be really excited, and I was until I left the door, and I was like,
You're
oh,
like,
wow,
oh,
oh, is
it's
it too
just
late to go
real.
back? I know, it was so real, but since then, it's only gotten better. I've been full-time for a few years now. I'm starting a new company now as well, while keeping my amazing career as a full-time travel blogger and content creator. My job is super varied, but mainly has to do with London and travel, specifically UK and Europe travel. A lot of itineraries, things to do, very much in the tourism content and marketing space.
Amazing. And you said you worked with influencers as well as part of your job. Is that correct?
So sending PR packages, emails,
Mhm.
collaborating with different agencies to do campaigns. I did get a little taste of what it's like to communicate with influencers and
Yeah.
gift influencers. At that time, I was already straddling both sides. It was super helpful, especially because one of the biggest professional cons with content creation is a lot of people go into it without that background. That's how they can get taken advantage of when it comes to communicating with brands, communicating rates. So I think I definitely lucky by having that industry experience before, because then I can kind of be like, yeah, I know what's up. Like if you're offering, I know what the budget is. So it's really helped, to be honest. It's a bit of a hack.
It's like playing chess, not checkers. We'll try to
It's
like, you're being crazy.
not for me.
No, it's so true. Like we've had discussions about this, about it's hard to give people advice sometimes of like how to get into like what you do, because a lot of the time if you are successful with something, it's because all of your life experiences have aligned in some way and the path makes sense to you. So it's hard to tell someone like, oh yeah, so to become a successful travel blogger in London, you have to have like X amount of years in influencer marketing already, and then like also be like from abroad and have years living in London authentically. It's not a snap your fingers type.
Yeah, which is why, to be honest, I kind of just word of caution to people when it comes to influencer courses that market themselves as like, this is the one secret to XYZ, because it's not. Like, it's an accumulation of everything. I have plenty of successful content creator friends or travel content creator friends specifically who, worked in government or had no industry experience and are doing amazing. So it's not necessarily a prerequisite. It helped, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I think just don't think that there is one way to get to where you want to go as a content creator and professionally in general, because there's really like 1,000 ways, especially when it comes to owning a business. Every single business isn't founded by someone who has their MBA, which is an interesting point about MBAs in general, but there's lots of ways to get there.
Yeah, 100%. And so you touched a little bit about courses there. And so tell us about any like active courses or coaches or anything that you feel have helped you fill a skills gap in what you do.
I think it's interesting because for my industry, content creation, it is really a
Mhm.
learning by doing. A lot of these resources that you need, it's almost better to do it as and when. For example, if you don't know how to edit, start editing the video, run into a problem with the video, and then say, oh, I don't know how to slow down a clip for this. And I know I want to do that for this video. What do? Use Google, use ChatGPT and say, how do I slow down a bit? I think sometimes that can actually slow you down by going, oh, I need to consume all the resources first. Just do the thing. And then as
Mm.
questions come up, I don't have a specific course or resource
Okay.
to recommend for that reason, but I think that actually can give, and specifically for content creation, this definitely doesn't apply to all different jobs and industries. I think for content creation, the best thing to do, because you're a consumer, so you already know what works, what isn't working online, what good editing looks like, what you resonate with content-wise, what you wanna create based on the things that you're resonating with and that you wanna talk about. So I think it's beautiful in that way. As we'll talk about later, I have a tour company that I'm starting, and for that, I did hire a business coach, specifically someone who has the kind of company that I want and is really successful in it, and so I think just that if you are gonna, use resources, coaches, all those things, I think they're fantastic, but I just think, yeah, make sure that all of your advice is coming from someone who's done the thing, not just talks about the thing, or
Mm.
just do the thing and look up questions as you go along, because we're so blessed with the internet, so there truly is any question under the sun, there's an answer for you that can be produced in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, 1,000%. Just try.
Yeah,
You can
just
just
try.
try and you'll figure it out. And so, of course, there was a lot of trial and error as you are just figuring things out. Is there anything that stands out to you along the way and like your journey of becoming a content creator where it's like if you could start again, you would avoid or warn people about?
Mm. Yeah, for content creation specifically, and it's hard because I don't know if I could change it, know your
Mm.
worth. I think it's so easy to feel like you're a number, especially when it comes to campaigns. Like this brand reaches out, says, "Oh, do you want to work with us?" But if you don't get back fast enough, maybe it goes to someone else. There's so many tiny things about the industry that can breed a scarcity mindset. And I think I've been pretty good about it, like throughout my content creator career, which I think has come from being very focused and in my lane. But I think it's really easy to just end up thinking like, "Oh, there aren't enough opportunities for me. Like opportunities are going to other people. Why not me?" Lowering your rates when, maybe there's a brand that you really want to work with, but their budget is just laughable, but you really want to work with them. And so there's all these like tiny problems come up. Like, do you work with that brand to boost your portfolio? Or do you say, I'm worth this number? And if you don't pay this number, then I'm moving on. I think you don't necessarily earn the privilege to do those things until you're a bit more established. So now I can say without a doubt, if you can't pay within this range, no, it's easier for me to make those decisions. There are decisions I wish I had made where I was like, "Candace, you really did not value your worth."
Mm.
So I won't necessarily say I would have listened to my own advice, but I would have definitely been a bit better if I now could talk to me then. I'd be like, "Hey girl, just know your worth a bit more and stand in that because, you're talented, your content's great, and that is why brands want to work with you in the first place. So don't forget that." That's what I'd say to her.
So, with those opportunities, is there something that you feel like you do specifically that like moves the needle for you in terms of like
Mhm.
just like securing the deal?
Yeah, so I think maybe it's helpful to backtrack and break down how content
Mm.
creators make money. There's lots of ways. I think the most kind of obvious, popular, well-known way is brand partnerships. That's a huge part.
Mhm.
But, also from my brand, Candace Abroad, London and travel brand, it's from my blog, so ad revenue, affiliate links. I have digital products. I've written different
Mm.
travel guides and itineraries, speaking engagements. There's a lot. So make sure that you understand there's more than brand partnerships available to you. I think that gives you a lot of agency as a creator rather than just relying on bigger companies all of the time. And I'm going to do that thing where I circle back to your question because I've started rambling.
Moving the needle, moving the
Needle movers. Okay. Needle movers, though, I'd say with content creation in general is creating content. Sometimes we spend so much time being in our heads, scrolling, looking at other creators, thinking, do I need to do this, this, this? But really creating content, creators that are doing really well. Most of their partnerships are inbound. Brands are pitching you, you're not pitching the brands, which also is a huge time saver.
Mm.
That happens because you create the content, you publish it online, it resonates, and depending on the keywords that you use, certain brands are always looking for that type of content. So for example, I have a train video, like places to go from London by train. Went super viral. And guess who sees that? Different train companies in the UK,
Mm.
different tourism boards that are on train routes in the UK. And it does kind of work like a bit of magic over time where okay, I want to work with these type of brands. What kind of content would I create for these type of brands?
Mm.
Let me create that content organically and then even when you're pitching, it's helpful because you can say, for example, if you're working with a tourism board, you can say, "Hey, tourism board XYZ, here's an example of the content I'd like to create for you." And it doesn't really
Mm.
matter if it's organic or a previous ad as long as it's resonated well. I think that is the biggest throughout time. I mean, even now, it's funny. I think on the outside, being a content creator can look like such a glamorous job. But from day one, what was I doing? Editing content on my laptop, on my phone. 5 years later, what am I doing? Editing content on my laptop, on my phone. That is the job. So, yeah, creating content 1,000%, always.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot of back and forth and just like having conversations and putting yourself out there, which is time consuming, to be honest. Talk to us about your journey of having a team, not having a team, having an agency slash manager, not having an agency slash manager. Like, how have you gone back and forth between that?
For team, that was something that I just knew I'd need support, like, pretty early on. It was just very busy. So the first hire I did was a content assistant, and these are all freelance. I think people, when they hear hire, it feels super intimidating, especially with the new laws and employee taxes. I think it just seems unattainable for solopreneurs to think having a team. But one, it's just the way the world is moving. Two, it helps you delegate in a way for just what you need. I actually tried having someone that was just proper part-time, And I found I was spending a lot of time thinking, what can I get them to do in these hours for the week versus working with
Mm,
freelancers? It's just, I need this from this time to this time. Can I hire you for that slot? Yes, done. So that's one thing. If you're a solopreneur, definitely get help if you can, when you can, but don't think that you need to hire them on as an employee. Make sure they're a legal working freelancer. I have a content assistant, so we work on shoots. If I have a brand partnership, I'll hire her to shoot with me for a few hours at a time, or say I need new pictures for something, or making organic videos. I have had a blog writer in the past. I had a VA as well. But over time, like ChatGPT has helped with so many things. Like I can work a lot faster. I've kind of worked with a lot of people for little things. Like if I have a project with my website, and I need my website speed sped up. I don't have an onboard website designer, but I'll go on Fiverr to my contacts and get that done. If I need a new logo done, I'll have someone that I know that does logos and hire them for that. I think I've been really good at understanding, like, okay, I can't do this alone. But I also do not need to spend my whole time managing people. As we have talked about in our personal conversations, we do not like managing people. And I think that comes from also just being a creative, like you want to create. I was thinking about it this morning when I was editing a campaign for a brand, like, man, I like this. I like creating the ideas, doing the filming, scripting, editing. I like spending as little time on delegating and emails and all those things. So yeah, that's who I worked with, and then when it comes to agencies, that's an interesting one because I do think that is where my professional experience and my MBA came into
mm,
play. I just noticed over time, because I'd had a lot of conversations over the years with agencies and freelance agents that I would work with, and I actually found that I was negotiating better than they were negotiating for me, which is when I was like, "Okay, I don't need this," because they can take up to 20% of your revenue. But I do think if you are someone that is 5,000% the creative that's like, "I just wanna create, this is going well for me, I don't want to have to deal with emails and professionalism," then just do that, like, that is worth the 20%. For me, it wasn't just because I like being hands-on in that because on the, I guess, side by side with what's the most important needle movers, content creation, but for income, it is managing those brand partnerships direct from brands that they're like, sometimes it's nicer to deal with the creator because the communication is quite fast versus saying, "Oh, do you have a creator for this?" "Oh, yes, here's her rate card."
mm.
And at the end of the day, you still have to create the content. Like the agency's not going to do that for you. I would just say my biggest piece of advice is like, don't do it quick. Do your research, have an in-person meeting if you can, especially if you're a London-based content creator. Probably your agency will be in London because I think there's just, there's intuition involved as well. And at the end of the day, I think it's important to think about intention. Some agencies, their intention is to really turn you into a brand and make you the best content creator possible. But a lot of agencies, their goal is just to make money. And that's the bottom line. There can also be an issue when you're on a roster that includes a lot of creators like you versus when you're the only specific creator like that on their roster. So they're not
Mm,
putting forward 10 of you for a campaign versus being like, oh, all the London travel content campaigns we have for
like,
me, we're putting forward Candace. So that's a kind of insular way of explaining
mm,
it. But that's why I have personally chosen not to have an agency while highly encouraging people that just don't want to deal with that or have been missing opportunities because they're not on top of their inbox because they're time poor. I really
yeah.
suggest having an agency then.
Yeah, it really just comes down to if you can be bothered or like doing it,
Can you be
basically.
bothered or not?
Yep. What I find really interesting about your content is you are different from other travel creators. You don't necessarily do the stereotypical restaurant partnerships. You actually do a lot of niche things with BP, travel boards, and new build flats. How did you like just talk us through that process of how you've kind of gone through like thinking outside of the box to find some of these quote unquote boring companies that really need the help.
Yeah. One thing I'll say about marketing is like who actually needs marketing. If you're a content creator, the most like hot restaurant that you really like want to have on your dream list of this brand paid me to do this, like, sorry, babes, they don't actually need your marketing because they're doing quite well. It's, these boring brands a lot of the time that are great and that you believe in. The only thing they need to get in front of their customer is that marketing, that brand awareness. That's your sweet spot because then they are happy to spend your budget on you because the ROI will be incredible. How I got into it goes back to organic content. For example, with the new builds, I was posting a lot of London neighborhood guides on my
Mm,
website. I have a guide for every single neighborhood in London, about 48 guides. That was before I got paid for any of it. I think now sometimes people do things for the gram first and their authentic self second. But
mm.
even when it comes to working with brands, if you're organically talking about something like, I just went to Thailand, so I have mangoes on my mind, really good mangoes in Thailand. But if I am posting about mangoes all the time, I just love mangoes. They're on my stories, they're on my feed. I just love it. Say that there's a makeup brand that has a new mango tint and they have a choice between me and someone else. Obviously, they're going to go with me because they've seen, like, oh, this girl has been about her mangoes from day one. And that can intersect. I could be a beauty creator that posts mangoes all the time on my story. So yeah, I think it's important to think about the intersection. What is your niche? What's the main thing you talk about? It's like an exercise you can do on paper where you write an X and then you can write travel, or you write an X and you write food. If you're a business owner and you do business content, you need food too. So if you were doing a collaboration with Peru and pitching for that, you could do a video about working on your launch or a big project that you're working on, and then you need food. You order Deliveroo. That's not like a natural partnership people would, I think automatically. You'd think, oh, I need to promote
Mhm.
tech or I need to promote, but there's so many intersections because really, I think ads, the best ads represent life, and life is not just X, it's X, Y, Z. Like there's so many intersections of things. So I think it all comes from creating organic content. You shouldn't need to kind of ask like, "Oh, well, what organic content?" Because it should just come organically from you.
Yeah.
What are you naturally interested in? And then that will intersect. I'm not interested in one thing. Some people are like they'll have a hotel page. They'll only work with hotels. But I think for the new creator, people are multifaceted. People understand that you're not just into one thing. So if I'm showing coffee on my page, I may work with a coffee brand one day, then I'll show a train journey. But if you think about it, it all does still fall under London and travel. So that is important. I think it is important to not just like talk willy-nilly. I'm not gonna start posting about vintage handbags from Italy
Yeah.
and make that my content pillar, even though in my personal life, that is what I'm about. But you do have a brand, have a niche, but understand that it can flow into a lot of directions. And I think from an income perspective, that covers your bases. So even with multiple streams of income, having multiple different kinds of brand partnerships is kind of falls under that of like just making sure that you're kind of safe and secure in terms of brands and partnerships and all those things.
Yeah. And also earlier you mentioned about affiliates for you. Like how have those affiliate links worked out for you in past deals? Are they still converting? How well do those affiliate links convert long term
I
generally?
think the key you said is long term because in the beginning, you may not see much traction. Something you make 2 years ago, especially for the blog and SEO, could end up being a few £100 a month, which if
Mm.
that adds up, obviously that can grow into a bigger number. It really depends. You could have some affiliates for a blog post on how to do a trip to Florence, and you say in the post, make sure you have a universal adapter and you have a link to that. Maybe that earns you a pound a month based on the percentages, but, I think affiliates, it's all about stacking and making sure that just all of your content has affiliates. I'm not the best at the tracking element of that. The only thing with affiliates is they can change their commission structure. I don't like to
Uh,
depend on that as much as I depend on my own digital products. But I think it is worth investing in. Even if you don't have a blog, social media, if you just have an Instagram highlight of my faves, for example, I'm always asked about the camera I use, and I need to follow this
mm.
advice and just make a highlight, my faves, and then people will go through that. I think of it as a beautiful surprise at the end of the month. You get a few £100s from all the tiny bits of work you've done over the years. Just make sure there's an affiliate link somewhere that is everlasting. So if it's a story, make sure that's in your highlights so it's not disappearing after 24 hours. And if it's a blog post, make sure you're promoting that blog post at least, once a month or maybe even once a week if it's super relevant to your brand to always get people back to those affiliate links.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that really comes in clutch. Let's say you're a creator and you're having a bit of a slow month. It's like, well, my affiliates can cover my bills, so it's fine.
Affiliates and a dream. Sometimes when it's been really bad, affiliates and a dream.
Title of this episode.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving us some inside scoop on the inner world of being a content creator. I would love for you to introduce your new venture that you're pivoting towards and how you ended up in that space.
Yeah, of course. So I think, like I said in the beginning of the episode, little girl, 5 years old, lemonade stands. I have always just had a love for business, which can sound quite vague, but I think it's a love for creating things and then getting other people to buy or try those things that I find really cool. I think even with Candace Abroad being a content creator, you are selling something. You're selling yourself, you're selling your ideas. If I'm making a video on how to go to Harrogate, I am selling you on the idea of going to Harrogate. So being a content creator is being a business owner, but I really crave something that was outward of myself. I think this is where the split between being just a full creative and being more of a business owner works out because I wanted something that went beyond me and I just felt called for that. I wanted something that had to do with women, specifically because as a bigger content creator, my audience is a little bit of everyone. It could be a family coming to London, someone that just moved to the city. It could be a British couple in Leeds that wants weekend trip ideas. And I am deliriously passionate about empowering women, about honestly, about helping women that are burnt out and high achieving, because that is me. And in my personal life, I'm so about my gym routine, affirmations, mindset, and personal development, because I know if I didn't do all of those things, I would just end up being someone who puts their complete value in their work and being high achieving and nothing else. All that combined came to an idea that set itself in my head and would never leave to the point where I had to bring it to life. And that is a tour company. It's a boutique tour company for high achieving women craving a meaningful break. So we do tours across the UK and Europe. We have 6 coming out in 2026 and one at the end of this year. So a magical London at Christmas. It's also about the lifestyle, specifically from the American perspective and the work culture there, especially if you are a woman, especially if you are a woman of color working in corporate or in tech. You may have a kind of all the check boxes of success ticked. But given myself, I know this. You can look successful on the outside, but it's really about like what's in your heart, like how much time are you taking? And it's such a huge thing as well, I think, with really kind of type A go-getter women to, yeah, not work on the internal and also to be time poor. So it's kind of a
Mm.
radical movement to that. But everyone else, you've got the success, you've got the big checks, you've got all the things. But when's the last time you took a really meaningful break? When's the last time you actually properly connected with like-minded women? When's the last time you used your time off? I think it's 50% of American women don't use the time off they get, which from a European context is
Yeah.
just crazy. Everyone's always talking about, I'm going on holiday here, I'm going on holiday here. So yeah, it's a passion project, but it's also a company. It's something I'm just deliriously excited to bring out into the world. So it launches this week, lovelymomentstours.com, Instagram as well, all of it, Lovely Moments Tours. And yeah, it'll be lovely, no pun intended.
That's so exciting and different. Well, it's different in terms of what you have to learn business wise from being a content creator. It is something where you don't have to be the face of it, which
Hmm.
is nice, especially for long term, not having so much pressure on you. If you want to have a bit more of a private life, you've still got an earner that isn't directly on you.
Yeah, definitely. I think that that is a part of it, like having something beyond myself. I think some people it would be comfortable being in the spotlight forever, but for me, there is just something nice about being behind the scenes. I think the only thing with being a content creator is your job can be a little bit self-serving, as in the income that I bring in, like it benefits the brand, it benefits my audience, and it benefits me. Whereas doing something that's in person, especially when it comes to travel, travel is such a dream that you consume online. I remember this line that said, don't write travel articles for the person that will go, write it for the people that won't, which just kind of gets you in the mindset of creating something so vividly, content wise, that you feel like you've been, even though you haven't. But I think, especially post COVID and being so separated, people are craving connection. I would advise that to any content creator, whether it's a tour company or starting an in-person meetup group, just something where you gather with people. People are really craving human connection. You don't have to make it a whole separate brand and thing as I am. But I will say, if you are a content creator, I did this before. I had a group called the Women in London Collective. It was a professional meetup group for women in the city. And that was super fulfilling. So I just think about how you can add a human element to your brand. And that's what this is. But it's also its own beautiful thing that I think will be really great for the women that come on our trips.
Yeah. So this is a massive shift business model wise from what you do. What has been the biggest learning curve for you? This is a very intense industry from conversations that we have. What's the biggest learning curve that you've had with it, and how are you overcoming, or how have you overcome that?
I think the biggest learning curve is just learning a new industry, especially when you go into it thinking
Mm,
you'll know the industry. So I was like, well, I've been in tourism, like, I do travel writing, I do travel videos, I work with travel companies. I'm in travel, but oh my goodness, the tour industry, everything from insurance and
mm,
compliance and marketing and payment processing and currency conversion and like there's just and, organizing a tour, things you need to be aware there's just so many things. I feel like I've gained a new brain over the past year since I've been starting this, but I will say my hack, and that is why I actually think it is best to have, especially for a company like this, something established in the back, whether that's a job that you're able to build up some savings from or an existing career that's ongoing. I'm not planning to quit Candace Abroad because I did hire a business coach, and I honestly cannot say that for this type of endeavor, I don't think I would have felt the confidence if I didn't have her. And she had a business that was very similar. So again, back to that thing of taking advice from people who have done the thing. And I heard her from a podcast. I think I had Googled on Spotify, like how to start a multi-day tour company. She was a guest on the podcast. She was talking, and then at the end, she said, if you have any questions or anything, reach out. I waited though. I was like, ooh, I want to start a tour company. She has a tour company. Well, that seemed like creating a competitor. And then I was like, Candace, get
mm,
over yourself. Just email her. She was so nice. Her name's Kelly. She's in the States. And yeah, she's been my coach and absolutely amazing. So having that support has been great. So I'd say just get support as soon as possible for people that have experience in your industry. Because I've also had the experience actually, it was just a drop in business coaching session. And I had it, the advice I got, I left just being like, ooh, I don't actually feel like I should follow that. But she didn't have a business that had
mm,
anything to do with a tour company. It was just
yeah.
more general business coaching. So I say be mindful of who you get for your coach.
Mm,
If you're not there yet, like resources wise, just make sure that you understand the industry and consume people and CEOs that have that business you want, which you can find easily on Spotify or Google. They're not the most popular podcast episodes. They're very niche, but they are so helpful, like learning about the luxury market and like higher ticket tours and things. And, there's podcasts on that. There's podcasts on everything. Can you tell I'm such like a chat GPT podcast, Google person? Everything is just out there already. Everything you need.
It's just like sometimes, yeah, I get a lot of questions about how to become an Asia consultant or freelancing and stuff. And I'm like, have you tried looking up the information for yourself first? Because then that's a bit more of a meaningful conversation
It tells me everything I
rather
need
than,
to know.
because it's just like, time is precious, you know?
Yeah.
And it's also just so much more valuable when you start to try and work things out for yourself. And it makes a bit more sense when someone's explaining it to you. Like, yeah, because you're more primed with information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for spilling the beans. I'm so excited for this tour company to take off. Everybody go follow Lovely Moments Tours. I will put the details in the show notes. Now we're going to transition into things that make your life a little bit easier.
Okay. I like easy life.
I like to start off this section with music. Do you have a hype song, a walk up song, something that just gets you going? I am making a Spotify playlist of these as well.
I have two, and they are both the most like I wasn't born in the early 2000s, but they're both like so early 2000s Disney coded. Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield and
Tune.
This Is My Time by Raven Simone.
Oh, I
Just
don't know.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It literally lyrics like, "This is my time to shine." It's just inspiration in lyrics, which I think was really cool about Disney back then. So, yeah, those are my 2 that get me pumped up if I need.
Amazing. Yeah, like you said, Disney Channel back then hitting. Like Cheetah Girls are kind of trending on TikTok at the moment. I was like, these are all
Ah,
bangers,
yeah.
respectfully.
Do your own
Like,
thing. That is on my You've Got This playlist, which is on my Spotify. That's also in it from Cheetah Girls.
obsessed. Obsessed. And how about any personal policies that keep you grounded? I always say that mine is no calls before 10 a.m. because I'm not there mentally. Do you have anything like that?
Who like work or personal?
Let's go both.
I'd say for work, I don't give my work away for free anymore,
Mm,
which I think as a content creator is specific. For press invites, which is when you get invited to an event or etc. I used to get so many like, "Hey, can you come to this thing?" And I'd respond just thinking maybe I'll publish a few stories if I enjoy it. In the same way, if you invite a journalist to a restaurant, you're not expecting that they write about that restaurant. You're expecting that if the experience is good, they write about that
mm,
restaurant. But it's a little bit different with content creators slash influencers where if you get invited somewhere, there is this expectation that you'll just, post the most glowing TikTok or reel. So I
mm,
made a press invite disclaimer that basically says like, "Hey, if I don't like your thing, I'm going to be honest. I'm not giving you any deliverables. If you want that, here's my rate card. I will publish
mhm.
stories tagging you if I enjoy it." I just send that to everyone
Yeah.
and it's been so filtering and a great work boundary for that. I love going to events and
Mm,
it's not like every single thing I do needs to be paid, especially if it's just a press event or a launch, but having those boundaries has been amazing. And I love when they're just respected like, "Oh yeah, we really hope that you enjoy this. Like, can we set up a date for you to just come?" And that creates such a better just like environment for those kinds of work projects. And then on personal, I think just always prioritizing the gym, which can just be fitness or movement for anyone. Like, I think that happens a lot when you're a solopreneur or have a job that's on your laptop a lot. You can think like, "Oh, I won't go exercise because my laptop is more important in this moment." But actually, it like, you feel so much more energized with laptop work when you start the day with movement, whether that's a walk or just 10 minutes, like, it does not have to be intense or crazy or, go into berries at 4 AM. It can really just be chill, but I feel like that is my, I guess, like, boundary slash just, yeah, personal boundary for making sure in my mind I know that my body and my mindset I also journal most days, affirmations, meditation, and just understand that body and mind come first and then work, but also that helps me be a better worker. So, yeah,
mhm.
kind of having a flow with all of those.
It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Ooh,
you know.
that's true. Yeah, that is true. This morning, I was at the gym playing peaceful meditation on Spotify and working out instead of a podcast, which is great. I said to myself, making my body strong, then I make my business strong. So cheesy. But I felt that I'm doing something for my body, then I'll do something for my business. That felt like a really good flow of my day.
I love that. And then when it comes to style, I'm always interested in people's style uniforms that they go to, whether it's for work or play. Do you have any formulas or go-to items that you lean on?
Ooh, I love my necklace. I wear it almost every day, my little half crescent. I love blazers. I just feel they give me boss woman energy, but also just beautiful. I love a good blazer. I think especially with London fashion, there's different kinds of London fashions, but for the lifestyle that I live, I love blazers. Yeah, I have probably too many to name on camera.
Yeah. And then when it comes to beauty, is there anything you go to in your beauty routine, be it skin care, body lotions, or hair care?
Mm, I just coconut oil, honestly. For your body, for your teeth, put a bit of coconut oil with your toothpaste.
Oh,
I've been questioned so many times, "How do you get your teeth white?" Coconut oil does wonders. Skin, simple from boots. Makeups, I'm kind of an impatient person. Night out, full face, 7 minutes. Daily, 5 minutes. I don't like it to take too much time. And then a lipstick that matches your shade, because I think matches your, like, lip shade. Because as a Black woman, it can be harder to find lipsticks that compliment you and don't make you look like a
mm,
clown. I
mm,
found mine from Superdrug. I think it's Maybelline,
there.
a maroony one from Maybelline that I love. There's, like, different variations of it, but that I think, like, finding your lipstick color just cures your life.
I love that. I'm also really into these like those sort of like lip stain
Oh.
leaving glosses. Like
Mm-hmm.
NYX does them, NYX, which are quite.
Mm-hmm.
I always hate it when the color fades off
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, and you're just like, okay, now my lips are naked again.
You need something.
Sometimes if there isn't anything on your lips, you just kind of wash out slightly.
No, I don't like seeing my lips without anything else. Even if it's like a bit of chapstick and just chapped lips, that's
Yeah,
that's the
can't
cringe for
be
me.
caught. Can't be caught ashy. No, thank
Mm-mm,
you.
absolutely not.
And now let's go towards more like the techie side of things. Are there any apps or tech tools that you are obsessed with?
One is very obvious and almost a plug to you, Notion. It is my project management. Use it for everything from like planning my content, creating my business plans, my goals for the year, pretty much everything that involves being written down on some form of digital paper. Then for my videos, CapCut Desktop. That was a game changer because I used to edit on my phone, but actually editing videos on a desktop, one, I feel like it's better for your back. Also, we use our phones so much that
Mm,
it just feels like a nice break because, you could
yeah.
spend up to like 2 hours, 3 hours editing a video. So if you're always on your phone, it feels better to do it on a laptop. And then Lightroom for photos, Lightroom from Adobe. I use
True.
that pretty consistently, whether it's a story edit that I need quickly or photos for my blog. I've made my own presets there, which is helpful.
Nice.
They have an auto feature too, just to get those photos looking crisp. But that's on my phone, so that's quite quick. Yeah, that's my tech.
Do you use any social media schedulers or hashtag finding tools, anything like that?
Yeah, I have dealt with too many glitches. I do not trust them. So I'll have content ready, but I do like that physical manual upload, especially because for
Oh,
me, I
okay.
like to do engagement about 10 minutes
Mm.
when I post. So that's why I do that. If there's something big, I can use a scheduler. Facebook itself, like MetaSuite, has its own scheduler. I used to be a bit more tense and serious, and then I thought to myself, like, Candace, it's not that serious. You can post from your phone. You're not less of a business girl because you
No.
post in real time versus having 27 posts pre-scheduled. You can be chill about that.
No, I love that. It's not that serious. We're not saving lives.
No, it'll be okay.
And then anything that you consume from a business perspective that makes you a better business owner. So you've talked a lot about like podcasts. Do you have any go-tos that you go back to apart from this one, obviously? Or any newsletters or books, anything that's been game-changing for you?
Coffee and oysters only. I'll just mention one because I'm quite a podcast slut. So if I just have something that I'm interested in, I will just type that in as if it's Google and try out new
Mm.
podcasts all the time rather than listening to one consistently. So for me, I think my book of the year is this book called Free Time by Jenny Blake. It's like free time, lose the busy work, build a business you love. It's an antidote to this very masculine way of looking at being a business owner of like, it's about the hustle and the grind and being up till 3 a.m. every day and don't sleep and have shitty health. I want to relax. Like, I want to go to Pilates. I want to have a
Actually,
chill life.
matcha?
Like, yeah, I want to work. I want to work on things I love, but I also do not want to give up my mental health for that and give up my girlfriends for that and give up my relationship for that. I think it's a beautiful place we're in time where we are seeing so many different ways to do things because of the internet, especially and TikToks and lifestyle videos, which is beautiful. Her book, and she has a podcast as well that goes with it. So that's kind of a dual recommendation. And it just kind of goes through how to set up systems and have a mindset
Mm,
towards your business, of not giving
no.
up the things you love for your business, which is the whole lifestyle energy I want. That book is incredible. I'm actually looking at it right now. Free Time, Jenny Blake, highly recommend.
Is there anything that you were just like consuming for fun? Like TV or
Yeah,
like books or
I am a
anything?
White Lotus girly now, which it's funny because my work, I guess, travel, tourism, it can overlap, but I love White Lotus at the moment. I'm on season 3. It's just good and it's funny and it addresses so many topics within the
Uh,
series that are just relevant to the world, but also travel, also how
mm,
rich people travel and think. It's so good. I love it.
Is that on Apple TV?
On Now TV, which means it's on Sky and also
Oh,
HBO if you're in the
oh, I didn't
US.
know that. Okay, why did I
You'll
think it
have
was
to
on
come
Apple?
over. We'll binge it again. Happy to.
Incredible. Thanks for giving us a little inside scoop into things that make your life easier. We're gonna wrap up with a bit that you probably know a lot about. You don't have to go into crazy detail, as everyone should follow you on Instagram to get the full scoop.
Hmm.
But we're gonna chat about London and some of your faves.
That's not good because I have too many faves. So this will not be my full faves. Look on my Instagram,
let's go
my
with
50 million faves. I'll give you
let's
some
go with
top.
recent faves. Generally speaking, where are you located? You don't have to go into specifics.
I am in Southwest, but I've been everywhere. Lived in North, I lived in South, I lived in East. Have I lived in Central? Most Central was like Camden, so pretty
Mm.
central. Yeah, I've been everywhere. But now I'm in
Okay.
Southwest.
Is there anything on your London bucket list that you're like, I really want to go do that, but just haven't had the time to yet?
I think it's more through my job explored a lot, but I think it's just going to areas again that are really far, like Eltham Palace. There's all these tiny hidden gems in London that, on a surface level, especially in the beginning, I was working my job and the content I was creating, I wasn't making a full time income from it. So that relationship does change when it becomes your job to explore the city. But I think just having a hidden gems day in London where on the surface it makes no practical sense to take an hour and a half journey to go see this tiny street that's in East London that's historic from the 1800s for this like tiny reason. But I want to do that. Like, I want to get to a point eventually where, yeah, I just have days where I just go and explore the like tiniest, most obscure things in the city because London's incredible for those kinds of things.
Yeah, and even the things that kind of are London but aren't really London, like you said, like Elton Palace, which is like London but kind of not. And also
Hmm.
like even things like the Chislehurst Caves. It's like that's technically London, but like it's
Yeah,
you've got to
yeah.
you've
It's a commitment. That's your day. I'll get to.
okay. So now let's go into like a few faves. Don't have to go into too much detail, but any like favorite restaurants that you love?
Okay. I'm going to give a casual, I'm an
Mm.
upscale, and then another one. Without sounding too bougie, they are both in Chelsea. The first one is Fat Fuck Noodle. It's like a very low key Asian spot. It's like, I think they say it's Malaysian, but it's also a bit Vietnamese, but just incredible. You can only sit outside and it's only walk in. So you go, you
Mm.
sit, you get some dumplings, some buns. Their prawn laksa is just incredible. And it's a quick spot. I think it's well known in the area. And I think a TikTok or two has blown it up, which is unfortunate.
Mm.
So go as soon as it opens. You will not regret it. It will be the best thing. You can go then to the Chelsea Physique Garden to Battersea Park, walk it off, order everything, love it. I also just had the most amazing meal at Bluebird Chelsea, which is actually just a short walk down from there. They're more like modern kind of cuisine, good for a wine night. I went there for a girls' night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was there, but like, cool.
I went with two friends. The food was incredible. We went for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It was so good. I loved that. Oh, I have so many. You need to give me area. You need to give me cuisine type. Ethiopian, I'll say. And I cannot be biased because I swear I've never been to a bad Ethiopian place in London.
Mm.
Ethiopian food, Vauxhall, or just somewhere in North London, incredible. Start there and then DM me if you want more recommendations.
Full scoop on your Insta. Full scoop.
Yeah, full scoop there in the blog and all the things.
And do you have any go-to cafes or co-working spots that you love?
Yeah, so I am a member of Soho Works. But I will say for co-working, like just general places, there's just some cool places in London, like the National Gallery. There's House Coffee, an old church. You can work in the city of London. There's a Welcome Gallery in Euston. It's beautiful. I do have a blog post on that. I think it's like 25 plus places to work. If you're south, there's a place called Peckham Pelican, I believe.
Oh
And
yeah, I
it's,
have heard about yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. I have clips from it. I was supposed to make it. I have clips I filmed like a year ago and still have not made
I
it
feel
for
like,
it.
oh,
Sorry, it just like bursted in my mind. You'll see that on my feed soon. It's great. A lot of galleries too, like British Library. especially if you want to be inspired, like in your working environment, just switch it up and go throughout London. No matter what area you are in, there's tons for each place. I have a blog post on that. It's just called 25 plus best cafes to work in London. It's separated by area, so you can check it out.
And then in terms of going out, are you into the bar scene or just any activities that you love doing with your friends?
I am an old lady, so I cannot remember. I think the last time we went out was Jazz Club Camden, which was actually a really, really cool night out. I love jazz bars. I love
Mm.
Ronnie Scott's upstairs. There's the main Ronnie Scott's, which is like, I gotta be dressed up. It's a bit of a scene, but they have a very relaxed Ronnie Scott's upstairs, which is right next to it. And it's just super chill. The bands are amazing. Just get a little cocktail. Love going to theaters. You can use Today Tix to
Mm.
get last minute tickets if you've worked all day in London. Just go on Today Tix, see what shows are out, and you can see a show quickly. Tickets that are amazingly well priced, and do that. So, yeah, I think that's my nights out, or going to press events, trying new restaurants in the city, wine bars. I love Vagabond Wine Bar. It's like little vending machines with wine that comes out, which is just a dream in so many ways. So, yeah, that's those are my hangouts. Very like late 40s coded, even though I'm not there yet.
On the business side of things, are you part of any networking groups or do you go to any events or collectives that you'd
Mm.
recommend?
Yeah, so I'm not the biggest networker because for my job, like I said before, with content, brands find me, I find brand, I work with brand, which doesn't require much networking outside of like, them seeing you online. But I go to a few events through Soho Works, which is part of the Soho House. Also Babes on Waves, which we're both a community member
Yep.
in. Yeah, and then I am a part of this is very niche if you have a tour company. It's called Tourpreneur. It's yeah, a community collective for tour entrepreneurs, but across the world. So from someone that does a husky tour in Alaska to someone that does food tours in Italy to someone that does multi-day group tours across Bali. It's such a great resource if you want to do anything in tours. Join that. You can ask any question. Nothing is too stupid to ask. I know because I've asked some pretty stupid questions in the beginning. I'd say those are kind of three that I recommend.
Amazing. Thanks for the inside scoop there. Now we're going to wrap up with some lightweight questions. What's a recent
Okay.
win that you're proud? I feel like I know the answer to this. And is there a win of someone else that you'd like to celebrate?
Yeah, just launching my tour company. It's been so much work just having the idea and following through with it and bringing it to life. That's the one already. Win of someone else. I want to say you. Am I allowed to say you? I just think everything that you're doing with
Thank you.
your podcast, it's very similar in that we were both doing something we want to continue, but we realized there's another market, women specifically, that we want to reach. And so we've made something to connect with those women. So I would say you. Recent wins for both of us.
Look at us doing what we said we were going to do.
Look at us.
Harder than you think.
It is. It really is.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And is there anything that you would like to plug? And is there anything that you need help with? I always like to say, you never know who's listening. So
Yeah.
go well.
So I'll plug my personal platform, my London and travel platform, Candace Abroad. So Candace, Candace Abroad. And my tour company is Lovely Moments Tours on Instagram, website, lovelymomentstours.com. I think just spreading the word. The thing with tour companies is that word of mouth trust with the trips we have curated and worked on for months. These are incredible trips. I'm not worried about someone just falling in love with the company. If you have anyone that you know that honestly that you're like, you need a vacation, like you need a vacation, you need to be connected with other women, just send them the Instagram, no pressure. But just to see, yeah, I think it's one of those things that is I believe in it past a point of like, go on one of our trips. I truly think it's an experience that will be life-changing in so many ways for so many women because we don't take time off that we need and we don't always connect with women in that way. And so I've kind of brought those two together. I'm really excited for the women that go on our trips.
Love that. I'm going to put all of your details in the show notes so people can go find you. But thank you so much for coming on to today's show. This has been great.
Thank you for having me. I've loved it. I'm a yapper, so just did some yapping and then I'll go off and do some more yapping outside of the podcast.
Incredible. Awesome. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Coffee and Oysters. All of the recommendations will be in the show notes in the Coffee and Oysters guide, which is also where you can sign up to be a guest and follow along on socials at Coffee and Oysters Pod on TikTok or Instagram. Follow along in the comments, keep those 5-star ratings coming. And if you want to chat to us directly, you can send it to coffeeandoysters@gmail.com. All the details in the show notes. See you next time.